Hello and welcome to Craft with Sarah and day 20, the final day of the Halloween Craft Countdown for 2024. I really hope that you've enjoyed all the projects I've been sharing over the past 20 days and that you like today's too. I always like to end the countdowns with something a little bit fancy. So you might be wondering, what's so fancy about that card in front of you, Sarah? Well, let me open it up and then you'll see. Are you ready? Ta-da! It's got this wonderful pop-out pumpkin inside. So, alright, this isn't really that Halloween themed. It's more autumn or fall themed, but I still thought it fitted nicely into this Halloween countdown. There are these lovely cut-out pictures on the sides to show the orange colour through, and as with all my pop-out cards, there's a hidden message panel which goes in the side for you to write on. Apologies again for my croaky throat. Of course, we had to end the countdown on one where I'm just a little bit under the weather, and of course this is a bit of a longer video because it's showing you how to do a pop-out card, which is a little bit more involved than some of the other projects. So if you don't want to listen along to my croaky voice, check out the schedule page for the Halloween countdown, and there's a link on there to a written version of this tutorial instead. But for now, I am going to crack on with this video, so let's get started and see where to find the file for this pop-out pumpkin card. The files for this project are free for the next 24 hours. Here's how to download them. Register a free ticket for the Halloween Craft Countdown at craftwithsarah.com/HCC24. After registering, you'll get an email which contains a link to the schedule page for the countdown. Visit the schedule page to find and download today's files. Each download is only available for free for 24 hours after it goes live. If you've missed some, check out the Instant Access Bundle at craftwithsarah.com/HCC24 bundle, which gives immediate and ongoing access to all of the files from the Halloween Craft Countdown, plus loads of extra bonus designs. The download comes in a zip folder. You will need to unzip this before uploading the SVG files into Cricut Design Space. This is what the SVG file for the pop-out card looks like when it's loaded into Cricut Design Space. If you're not sure how to get the file into Design Space, check out the schedule page for the Halloween Craft Countdown, and within there, look for the Foundation Learning section near the top of the page. Within that section, there is a link to a separate video and tutorial on how to upload SVGs into Cricut Design Space. There are a few things that we need to do to this file before it's ready to cut, such as formatting all of the score lines. And there are a couple of other things I'd like to point out along the way too. First is the size that the SVG should load in at. When you click the design, it should load in at 18 inches wide and 16 inches tall, and that's the size of the whole thing with all the different sections. If yours is not that size, then change it to match using the width and the height boxes. The finished card will end up 5 by 7 inches. It should fit in a standard 5 by 7 envelope, but if you'd prefer to make your own envelope, then again check out that Foundation Learning section on the schedule page, as there's a separate tutorial in there with free SVGs on how to make your own envelopes. There's also one more on how to make presentation boxes for your cards, so if you'd really like to make this super duper extra special, you could perhaps put it in a presentation box instead of an envelope. Alright, so let's get started on formatting those score lines. First, click the design to select it, and then press the Ungroup button at the top of the Layers panel. That separates everything out so it's easier for us to work with. Scroll all the way down to the bottom of the Layers panel, and you'll see at the very bottom you've got two rectangles, the orange and the green. And that is these two pieces here which make up the base of the card. We'll do the orange one first. So click it in the Layers panel and you'll see there's a little arrow next to it. Click that arrow to open it up. Then click the one layer that looks like vertical lines to select it. You see I've only got those lines selected, not the orange rectangle. Under the Operations menu, change it to Score. If you don't have a scoring stylus or scoring wheel, you can delete all the score lines instead by pressing the delete icon up here. It just will be a little bit harder to fold, and you'll probably need to score it manually yourself to be able to get all the lines. Once you've set that to score, click to select the whole group. So you see now I have the orange and that line selected. And then down the bottom of the layers panel, press attach. Attach is what tells the Cricut to do the scoring on this particular bit of card. And then we can move it back to the back by going arrange, center back. Now we'll do the same thing, but for the green instead. So click the green. You see it's now selected in the layers panel. Click on the little arrow and then click just that vertical line. Change it to score and then click that mini group. So I've got my green layer and that score layer selected and press attach. These three pieces here make up the hidden message panel to go inside the card. So you'll cut these from white. I've made them a slight off-white in the design just so it's a little bit easier to see them. This is the front of the card, there's nothing to change on here, and then all of these pieces down the left-hand side make up the pop-out. There's only two pieces that we need to change on here, and it's this one on the very top left, and this one on the bottom left, and you can tell which ones it is in a couple of ways. One is just visually, you see these are the only two that have this little tab at the bottom, one on the left, one on the right. And you can also tell by looking in the layers panel, you've got all the pumpkins, but the two that will need score lines adding are the two that have the arrows next to them in the layers panel. So I'll start on this one. Click that horizontal line, change it to score, click to select both those layers and attach. And then look for the other one, open the little group, click the horizontal line, change it to score, click to select both those layers and attach. And then that's it. That's everything that we need to change. So you could go ahead and save the project now using the save button up here so that if you wanted to make another one in the future, you won't have to do all of that formatting again. But when you're ready to cut it out, press make over on the top right, and I am not going to worry about saving that. You can change the paper size in the drop down here, and then you can move things about to try and take up less space on your cardstock. For example, you could rotate that one and put it there, then you'll have all this space to use on another project another day. One thing I do want to mention is that whichever orange card you use for the pumpkins, you want to make sure that that is double-sided or solid core cardstock. So it's orange on the front and the back of the card. That's because you'll see both sides of all these bits of pumpkin when they're slotted together. So if you are using white core cardstock, which would be orange on one side but white on the back, it means your pumpkin won't look as good because you'll be able to see all of that white. So if possible, choose orange card that's orange all the way through, front and back. Go ahead and get everything cut out, and then I'll show you how to put together your pop-out pumpkin card. Here are all the pieces of my pumpkin pop-out card cut out and ready to be put together. We'll be putting it together in two parts. One is the inside pop-out section, which is all these pieces over here. I'll just move that to one side for now. And then the other part is putting together the layers for the front of the card, which looks like this. I've got a sort of pale yellow here. I'm not sure it's showing up on my camera very well. I'll start by doing the front of the card, and we'll begin with the bottom layer. And then for the next layer, this green one, I'll be putting this on with some foam squares. The foam squares I'm using are from Dot & Dab, but any will do. And I'll also be using glue for some of the layers. The glue I'm using for this project is Burley Art Glue. I also like Kalal. I buy both of these on Amazon. And the reason I like these is because they don't bend or wrinkle the card like some glues can do. But this layer is one to be done with the foam squares. And now that I've just moved it around, I can't actually remember if I turned it upside down yet or not. No, I didn't. Okay, so I'm going to turn that upside down now to put the foam squares on the back. You want to make sure you put a good amount around the edges and also in the middle so that you get a really good stick and it's all going to be nice and level. So you'll see that I'm putting quite a few on here. If you don't want your card to get too thick, then you can glue all these pieces instead of using the foam squares. But I like to just have that little bit of extra dimension, just to give it a little bit extra va-va-voom. Alright, so I'm going to continue adding these foam squares in lots of different places in the middle of this piece of card. Now that all those are in place, I can peel the tops off to reveal the stickiness underneath. Turn it back the right way around, and then this is going to be stuck onto the pale yellow piece of card. It's more of a sort of creamy colour, really. And this lines up right along the edge. So try and get it lined up as closely as you can, and then gently drop it down. And the reason for that is that it's not completely stuck yet, so if you needed to move it, if you hadn't quite lined it up, you could still do that. But that's looking good, so I'll push down to seal. The rest of the card is super easy. It's all going to be glued on. The exception could be the other pale green layer, which you could stick out with a little bit of foam as well. I'm undecided. I might or I might not. These pop-out cards end up a little bit thicker because of everything that goes inside. I don't want it to get too thick that it would be more expensive to post. So I'll make that decision on if I want to add a second layer of foam squares when I get to it. Although, to be fair, most of my handmade cards end up being hand-delivered anyway, so thickness doesn't matter too much, but it is something you might want to bear in mind if you'll be putting your card in the post. So that orange lines up like that, and then we've got the darker orange to go on top to make up the detail. Again, I'll glue this one. Line that right up. I'm going to push down quite gently because I don't want my glue to smush out and become visible. Alright, so I've decided I am going to glue this piece rather than use the foam, but if you want to use the foam squares for this one, you absolutely can. It's completely up to you. And then finally, the darker green detail to go on top will be glued. Right, that's looking good. There's the front of the card. So now we can start on the inside. Just moving these bits apart so we can see what we've got. And we'll start by assembling the actual pop-out mechanism. You've got a piece that goes in the middle, which is the one that's got the leaf and stalk on it. And then you've got these green pieces here, which will be glued one on either side to add the detail. We'll do the gluing first because it'll be easier to do that now before we make this all 3D. Just a bit of glue on the back. Do one side first. Get the lighter one on first. Like that. And then the leaf on top. Just going to check I've got that the right way around, which I do not. A little bit of glue on the back of that. And stick that on top. Then turn this piece upside down. We'll do the same on the other side with the other stalks. Just like with the front side. This one goes on first. Ooh, I didn't line that up very well. There we go. And then the darker leaf on top. Just make sure you're gluing it the right way around. I'm throwing it around. There we go. So that's now double-sided. Now it's a good idea to sort out the pumpkin shapes to make sure that you've got them all in the right kind of order. So some of them have slits in the bottom, some of them have slits in the top, and you've got a variety of different sizes. So I'm lining them up kind of in size order. Those ones and then those ones go together. So you'll end up, you can't really see, let's move them about a bit. Okay, so we've got the biggest one here. Then I've got two with the slits in the bottom. And then two that size with the slits in the top. Two that have the little tabs on the bottom. One will be for the left and one will be for the right. And then these two smaller pieces that have the slits in the top. These will be going on in size order. Start with the biggest piece, which is the one where there's only one of these and it's got the slits in the top. And this is going to go into the middle slit of our pumpkin. Put those two slits over each other and push it all the way down so that it goes completely in there, and then it will line up flush at the bottom and it will push right up against the leaves. Get the next size down that have the slots in the top, which is these two, and put one of these either side of that pumpkin. And again, you're using the middle slot on these new bits, but then putting them into the slots one either side of the one we've already done. There we go, so it's pushed all the way down to the bottom. And then for the two remaining slots, we're going to be doing the two remaining pumpkins that have those slits at the top. Again, put the middle bits through the holes. There's one. The final one here. Like that. Alright, so now that should kind of stand up by itself. And now we've got the other bits to go onto the slits. Take the next size pumpkins, this is the ones without the tabs along the bottom, and these is going to go one either side of the stalk layer, and we're lining it up with all of the holes. So it's a little tricky because we've got 5 slits and 5 things for it to go over. And this is probably going to take me a moment to figure out. Once you get the first couple in, the rest of it goes down a lot easier. You also want to try and make sure that these pumpkin pieces that we've already done end up straight, coming out from the back. Here's that piece all slotted in. I did just have to pause my recording and move it a bit closer to my face so I could do it a little bit easier. Where I'm filming, it's actually a long way out. I have to stretch my arms out, and I was just struggling doing it, holding it so far away. But when I moved it a bit closer into myself, it was easier as I could see what I was doing better. But of course, that meant that you couldn't see it on camera. And then we're going to do the same thing the other side. And it should be easier now that we've got one in there to start holding it all straight. So take the other one that doesn't have the tab along the bottom, and then put this one on the other side. So I found that it worked kind of easiest to get one started and then just kind of slot them on a little bit, one at a time. Don't worry if they pop off or out, because we'll get it sorted. And then once you've got the first few little bits in, the rest of it comes in easier. Just make sure they're overlapping the cuts in both those pieces. You can push it down, and then it should sit flush right up against the bottom. So push it down on all of them. You can tap it up and down a bit, holding it to get it right down there. And there we go, this is starting to look more like a pumpkin. Finally, we've got the 2 tabs that are on the bottom, and these ones, it's really important to get them the right way around. I've already put one of them in, which is this one. So if you're looking at the pumpkin, so that the leaf is on the right hand side, and the stalk is on the left, then your tab needs to be in that left section. You can see it there. If I'd have done that the other way around and had the tab coming out the right, it means that the card will not open and close properly. So you need to get it the right way around. So we've got stalk facing left, means tab is left. When you turn it round and do the other side, so now my tab is facing right, but I still want that stalk to be on the left. And that means it will end up the opposite side of the one at the back. So if I'm looking at it from the top, this one I've already done. Looks like it's over here on the right. It'd help if I didn't drop it. So my tab's over here on this right hand side, on that back side, and on this one, it needs to go on the left. So no matter which way you look at it, if you're looking at it from the front, the tab's on the left, turn it round, and that tab also needs to be on the left at this side too. So I'm going to get that slotted into those final slots, and then we'll see how to put it together in the card. Now all my parts of the pumpkin are slotted together, and you can check that your pop-out mechanism works by just gently pushing it to the side, and you'll see that it folds flat, and then push it up again and it all pops out. Everything should be nice and flush along the bottom. Mine isn't quite, so I'm just going to push it down a little. There we go, that's better. And then this is what it looks like from both of those sides. Take your middle piece of card, which is the dark green one, and fold it in half down the score line. And then we're going to line up these little tabs and put them through the holes. If you hold the pumpkin in front of you, so that we've got one tab on the left and one tab on the right, you'll then be able to pop them through these holes. It's a little tricky to get that second one in place. Pull it all through tight. Be careful not to rip it. And then just check by gently folding it up that you've got that the right way round, and your card will close. So that's working good for me. Then with one of them still poked through, you can put this in place with some sticky tape. For this left side of the card, you want the tab to be going downwards in a sort of diagonal direction, pointing bottom right. I'll add my tape over there, and I want to make sure that's through all the way. Oh, I just dropped it. Let's try that again. Pull that through up to the score line. Fold it in. And then stick down, pointing to the bottom right. And then for the one on the other side, that'll go through the other hole, like that. And this one, we want to stick pointing in a top left direction. So it's going to go up there. And now your card opens and closes beautifully. Here's how it looks from the sides, and then that's what it looks like from behind. So fun. All right, let's crack on with the other parts of this card, and we'll do the message panel next that goes inside. This is made up of 3 parts. You want to start with the main rectangle, and then you've got this sort of border part that goes on top, and this will get glued on directly on top. This is what holds the secret message panel in place. Alright, then the message panel sits in, so you've got the little tab which will come out this side, and just place it in there. Don't glue it. If you glue it, it's not going to pull out. Just place it in the middle, and then add some glue only around that border piece that you just stuck on. These little bits that come out here will catch on the tabs on the back of the message panel to stop it being able to be pulled out. And then we'll line this up. So this is going to stick against this line, and the bit where you've got the cutout will line up with the pull tab. Stick it down, make sure it's nice and straight, and that doesn't overlap anywhere. I'm not going to push it down really hard because I don't want the glue to smush onto the message panel, which would mean that it can't be opened anymore. So I'm just going to leave that as is to dry. And while that's drying, we can fold the main piece of the card. This has got 3 score lines on it, and you want to fold them all the same way. So first I'll go down the very middle, get my card folded down there. And it might be an idea to get a super crisp fold by going down it with a brayer tool or something similar. And then for the 2 score lines on either side, you also want to fold them the same way. It's a little tricky because they're so close to that middle one. Just kind of keep wiggling it around until you can fold down those lines too. That's the first one. And then this one, the other side too. The reason we're doing this is to make a sort of almost like a tent effect in the middle of the card, which will give more room for the pop-out card to sit and stay nice and flat inside the card. that one. I forgot to braid the one on this side, so I'll just fold it back along that one and go down. And then wiggle it so that it does fold down that middle one, so that your edge this side lines up. You can see when you hold it up, we've now got a gap this side because of those extra score lines. My message panel's dried now, so I can pull that out, and you see it doesn't come out all the way as we've trapped it in there, and it pushes back in. Ooh, you need to get it in quite straight for it to go in all the way, but there we go. And then we can glue this to the inside of the main card. Fold it flat, and I'll do this side first. Need quite a bit of glue on here as it's heavy. It's got lots of bits of card in it. And don't put any glue over the little pumpkin cutouts. Alright, this will line up inside my card. And it will go so that there's a nice even border of orange all the way around and line up against that middle score line. Just make sure it's nice and straight within there, and you've got an even bit of orange all the way around, so it's nicely in the middle. Then we can glue the other side. You might find that the very edge bit in here doesn't actually stick to the orange. That's because of that tent effect, and that's okay. Put a bit of glue in there anyway, though, just in case. Close it up, and then wiggle it around so you've got that same border, and it's nice and straight on all the edges. So you can see it's not quite sticking in the very middle, which is what I just sort of said it was going to do, but that's fine. There we go, we've got these nice pictures now showing through. There's the pumpkin, front and back. Closes beautifully. So all that's left to do is to stick the front of the card on. Now for this one, you only want to glue up to that first score line. The very edge of the card, so the bit that runs down here, won't quite stick because of where we did those extra folds. So just glue up to that first score line, and then that will be fine. And there it is. Pop out pumpkin card for the final day of the Halloween Craft Countdown, all finished. Now, because this is a 5x7 inch card, it should fit in a standard 5x7 pre-purchased envelope, but if you prefer to make your own, go to the schedule page for the Halloween Craft Countdown and look in the Foundation Learning section at the top of the page. Within there, one of the links is on how to make your own envelopes to fit any card, and I've got some free envelope SVGs included as part of that for you too. If you'd like to go even more special, as this is a very special card, there's also a link in that Foundation Learning section on how to make presentation boxes for cards instead of an envelope. If you're giving this card in person, a presentation box is a really fun way of adding extra special effects to your card, because it will sit in that box, it'll stay nice and protected, and you can decorate that box to match the card too. That brings us to the very end of this Halloween Craft Countdown for 2024. I really hope that you've enjoyed the projects that I've been sharing with you over the past 20 days. If you've missed any and you want to catch up, check out the Instant Access bundle for this countdown at craftersarah.com/HCC24 bundle. That's an optional purchase product which gives you ongoing access to all 20 projects. So if you missed any of the files, you can download them again as many times as you want, whenever you want, with the Instant Access bundle. And it also contains 18 additional cut files that are only included as part of that bundle. I'd love to know what you thought of this Halloween Craft Countdown and what your favourite project was. Let me know in the comments what you enjoyed making the most. And I've already kind of started work on the Christmas Craft Countdown, but if there's any projects for that you would like to see, again, let me know in the comments, because I love getting suggestions. And hopefully by the time I come to record those videos, my voice will be a little bit better. But for now, thank you so much for watching along with me. I hope you've had fun, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye!